Well, thank you, Susan, and hello, folks. It's nice to see you on screen, and kind of exciting to look ahead to their 50th anniversary of Mississauga, and the kind of interest we're hoping to generate. We're going to initiate some new projects of our own that bring arts to more neighborhoods in the city, and that means visual arts and music in particular. But we're always interested in a multiplicity of art forms and events, and we encourage you to be bold, to try things, and to take advantage of our experience in terms of advice and that kind of thing. So this information session is going to provide you with some real good tools in terms of identifying what the strengths of your project might be, where the gaps might be, where you might need to do a little homework. And by and large, it's a fairly simple approach relative to other grant application opportunities that are out there. So we hope you'll take advantage of this and go for it, and know that we're here for you, and that this is not the only opportunity for us. This is the one right now. And this is the one we're looking forward to really kick off 2024 with some exciting creative projects that attract the public and get them talking about popular artists locally. So please do enjoy yourselves. Thank you, Susan, for this, and look forward to seeing what you produce. Take care.
Today's info session, our agenda today, we're going to talk what are MAC microgrants. Then we're going to talk about eligibility, both for individuals and for projects. We're going to take a deep dive into our fall funding streams. And then we'll go through the application requirements, and I can walk you through the web form. It has changed a little bit if you've applied to our microgrants in the past. We've done some updates to make it a little more friendly. Then at the end, we'll talk about the assessment, important dates and deadlines, and questions. So first off, what are MAC microgrants? MAC's Dynamic and Impactful Microgrant Program provides funding to artist-led projects, which have a pronounced and impactful connection to the public and bring recognition and increased awareness to the arts across the city. Applications are reviewed by an independent peer assessment jury who selects the winning projects. Our fall 2023 microgrants will celebrate the 50th anniversary of the City of Mississauga through arts and culture projects that engage the community and celebrate 50 years of civic identity. This round, we have 8 funding streams, and there's a link here you can see on the screen. If you go to our website and look up microgrants, you'll be able to find out more. You can see our press releases. You can really dive into the microgrants. Sorry about that. There we go. So I know I said we were going to do important dates at the end, but I wanted to bring them up here as well. So our microgrants opened on Tuesday, September 5th, right after the long weekend. We're having the information session today. Microgrants will close, so you can apply anytime until 5 p.m. on October 16th, which is a Monday. Then MAC will be reviewing the applications. We'll be sending them to the juries and making those decisions. So it'll take us a little bit of time to review that and get that sorted out. And so it won't be until November, early November, when we're able to notify the winners. And then we'll do a bigger announcement later in November to the public, announcing all of the winning projects. For your project that you're applying for now, you have almost all of 2024 to complete your project. So that could be a spring project, a summer project, even an early fall project. But we will need your final reports by the end of 2024, should you be lucky enough to win a grant. So that's what those dates are all about. All right, so next up is eligibility. So who can apply for a MAC microgrant? So who can apply? Unless otherwise stated, MAC microgrants are available to individual artists and unregistered groups or collectives living or based in Mississauga. So you don't need to be a member of MAC to apply, but should you be recommended for funding, then at that point, we would ask you to join as a member. Joining MAC, we're a member-based arts organization. Memberships start at just $30, and it gets you a lot of great benefits, which you can learn about on our website. And it includes promotional support and an artist page on our Marty's Hub website, and lots of other recommendations and opportunities. So it's definitely worth looking into, but note, you don't need to before you apply. So other eligibility requirements for our microgrants this fall: geography. Again, you must be based in Mississauga to apply. You can only apply for one application in one funding stream. So even though we have 8 funding streams available, you can only submit one application to any of the funding streams. And if you have previously been awarded a microgrant, congratulations, super exciting. You are absolutely eligible to apply again, but any final reports for outstanding projects need to be completed before you can apply for a new microgrant. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me, Susan at macarts.ca, and we can discuss what your final report requirements might be for previous microgrants. All right, next up, so that was whether you can apply or not. Now we get into project eligibility. So the project you're working on. So again, geography. All projects must take place or have the majority of the work completed in Mississauga. Your project must be focused on arts and culture in Mississauga and follow the guidelines listed for each funding stream. Previously funded projects. So this is new. In the past, we haven't supported projects that had previously received microgrant funding. But this year, we're changing things up a little bit. And if your project has received microgrant funding in the past, you are eligible to apply with the exact same project. But make sure that if you are doing this, make sure to let us know and make sure to demonstrate how you're growing your project or why your project is really impactful in the community and therefore should happen again. And then again, we were talking about project completion earlier on. It must be completed by mid-November of next year. If your project's going to be later than that, then maybe this isn't the right time to apply for you. We normally have 2 rounds of applications each year, one in the early spring and one in the fall. So if your project isn't going to happen until 2025, hold off. Let us know about your project, but hold off applying for now. And there will be chances in the future to apply. So hopefully that all makes sense. Are there any questions about eligibility? I'll maybe see if there's any in the chat. Any questions, Jacqueline?
No.
Okay, wonderful. Then let's power through. I think I missed a slide, but I'm going to repeat it later. And that is links to both the microgrant guidelines and the web form, but we're going to get to that later. I think someone raised their hand. Is there a question?
Hi. Can everyone
Hi
hear
there.
me? Yeah. Hi. I'm just curious in terms of if you're an artist who wants to apply for a grant, do you have to, I guess, demonstrate your level of professionalism or experience by sharing like how many things you've published or any performances, that sort of thing? Do you need to show your eligibility as an artist?
Yes. So in the application form, we will get to this a little later. We ask for just your contact information, the basic stuff. We also ask for an artist's CV or resume. So at that point, that's where you can kind of show that, yes, I'm applying for a dance project, and this is, this shows that I am a dancer. Personally, I'm a musician, and I should not be applying for dance projects, but whatever it takes to show that that connection and have the jury understand why you're the right person to take on this project. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. We don't explicitly say, are you a professional artist? Because we are about growth of artists and trying new things and taking risks. But we do want to make sure that you are who you say you are. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, moving along. So let's get to funding streams. This fall, we have 8 funding streams, which I think is the most funding streams we've ever offered. We're really excited about this. And it gives people a chance to see where their project can fit within some of the project. And we do have our Matchmaker microgrants that are here at the bottom are probably our most flexible, where the project can be anything. And it's really about getting us excited and showing us that you have other funders already on board for it. But I digress. So the 8 microgrant streams we have our ArtsCare microgrants, we have career development microgrants, community activation microgrants, fusion microgrants, the music showcase event production microgrants. I like long titles, clearly. We have our theater in the park microgrant, which is sort of a 2-parter we'll get to. And then our visual art exhibition curation microgrant. So those are sort of our project grants. And then we have our matchmakers. So doing a little bit of a deep dive, our first one is the ArtsCare program development microgrant. This one is up to $5,000 in funding. And what we're looking for is an individual, a caregiver, an artist, or an agency to apply. And we want to see arts workshops for people who have mental health obstacles and would benefit from participation in the arts. So with your application, make sure to include a detailed description of the program outcomes and how you're going to measure them. Make sure your project pays for professional artists for their services to deliver the program. And make sure you have the capacity to serve 10 clients or participants from Mississauga. The project should feature a minimum of 5 weeks worth of workshops for the participants, and it must be available in person or virtually free of charge to residents of Mississauga who have been referred to the program or who have found the program through your channels as well. And the funding available is up to $5,000 for this one. That's that one. And this one, if you're an incorporated group or collective, you are eligible for this one. And that's different than some of the other ones that are only for individual artists or unregistered arts groups. Any questions about ArtsCare? I'll take silence for no. Don't worry, there's always time to come back. Next up is our career development microgrants. And so Mac recognizes that to grow an artistic career, sometimes it takes, a strategic thing. You've gotten so far, and lessons with this teacher would just put you over into the next level of your career and just keep you going. And so if you're seeking financial support to strengthen your skills or build your career capacity, you're absolutely invited to apply for a career development microgrant. So it supports mentorship, career development initiatives, classes or courses, or artistic business or capacity building projects. You can be from any artistic discipline to apply for this one. And in your application, demonstrate the career impact for you as an artist and why this particular project in front of you is going to help your career and take your career to the next level. And so these ones are up to $1,500 in career development support. Next up is our community activation microgrant. So this one, it's fairly new. We just started them last fall. And this one in particular is really a chance to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Mississauga next year. So show your civic creativity and bring together a community for an impactful arts activation project, whether it's a pop-up concert, an interactive art project, some sort of placemaking. Let your creativity run wild and show us how your event or project is going to engage the public. So again, these projects can be from any artistic discipline. And if you have multiple disciplines, that's great too. It can be a one-time event or activity or a series of events or activities. So it could be a one-time concert, or maybe it's a public art installation, or maybe it's a series of park workshops that run weekly for a period of time. Your project, if you're applying to the community activation microgrant, should include artist fees for at least 3 Mississauga artists, and all the events or activities must take place in Mississauga. The other stipulation is that it must be free for the public to attend or participate in your activities. All right. Next up is our Fusion MicroGrant. So this one, the main piece of this Fusion grant is that we want artists to work together to create something new. So your project should include at least 2 artists who have equal creative contribution to the project and both receive artist fees. You could have 3 artists or 4 artists, but you need a minimum of 2 working together to create a new art piece or a new installation, a new project of some sort, event of some sort, something exciting that brings together the arts. And again, it must be accessible for the public to experience your project or event to audiences within Mississauga. Okay, so we've gotten through a few. We got through our ArtsCare, our career development, community activation, now our Fusion grant. So next up is our music showcase event production microgrant. It's a mouthful. This one's up to $6,000 available. We're looking for music event producers who want to put on not just concerts, but really concerts that showcase musicians. Here we're saying showcase a minimum of 3 Mississauga musical acts to new audiences. So we want to bring musicians to new audiences. We want to bring music professionals to the artists to see them perform and build the careers of those musicians involved. So with this grant, pitch us your take on your musical showcase. And again, we sort of mentioned that it's a chance to celebrate the rich musical diversity of Mississauga in its 50th anniversary year. So we talked 3 musical acts should be included in your event. Also, make sure to include in your project proposal a detailed event description with a list. They don't have to all be confirmed yet, but a list of the performers you're looking at or hoping to get. Your event must be held in Mississauga, and make sure to demonstrate the event's community impact, both to artists and the audiences who are attending. Next up is our Theater in the Park microgrant. So here again, we're saying Mississauga's 50th anniversary, let's celebrate with an outdoor theater production. This grant is a 2-parter. So the first part is to write and design an original play or theater piece for no more than 6 cast members and a minimum of 40 minutes. The funding for writing is up to $3,000. And then for part 2 of the microgrant, it's to cast and produce the play on site in a Mississauga park for a minimum of 2 performances. And Mac can, if you were to get this microgrant, Mac can work with you to help with the park, getting the park site and getting things organized as well. And the funding for part 2 is up to $5,000. Now we have our visual art exhibition curation microgrant, another mouthful. So for this one, we're supporting a visual art exhibition, and we want to find Mississauga's next big curator. Pitch us your idea for an engaging visual art exhibition event that will showcase the work of 5 to 10 of Mississauga's talented visual artists in a live exhibition that's accessible to the public in Mississauga. So your project must showcase the works of 5 to 10 artists. Make sure to include a detailed description of the exhibition's theme and potential artists that you're looking at. Again, if you've confirmed some, great. If you just have ideas of who you're going to reach out to, that's okay too, but make sure to include some names. Your event should be held at a venue in Mississauga. And again, demonstrate the event's community impact, both to the artists and the audiences. So the people coming to see the artists and meet new artists, and the artists to benefit from those audiences. So those are it for our project microgrants. And the last funding stream is a little bit different. So up until now, all of the microgrants they have the maximum amounts available, and we'll pay that to cover the entire project or up to that much of your entire budget. So if you were doing a visual art exhibition, I'll go back a slide. If you were doing a visual art exhibition and your total budget was $5,000, Mac if you were successful, MAC would cover the entire budget. If your visual art exhibition was a little bit more than that, we'll cover up to $5,000. The Matchmaker microgrants are a little bit different. It's our most flexible funding stream. It can be any artistic discipline, any kind of project. But the tricky part is we'll only cover 50% of your budget, up to a maximum of $3,000, whichever is less. So with these ones, what we want is for you to come to us with a project and say, this is my project, it's happening. I already have a confirmed revenue source. This is happening and you can make it better. It's really, to kickstart a project or complete something or really investing in the artist to make your project even better. So again, any artistic discipline, make sure in your budget you're showing confirmed sources of revenue. That's really important for this one. And make sure to demonstrate the career impact for the artists involved and the impact for the audiences or public who will experience your project. Does that make sense why these ones are a little bit different? Hopefully we'll come to that during questions at the end. So those are 8 funding streams, and we can pause here. Again, I talked about our microgrant guidelines, and there's a link here to download them. You can also find them if you go to mississaugaartscouncil.com and look up microgrants. You can download them directly on that page. Okay, great. So we've already sort of talked about some of the requirements, and now we're just going to do a deep dive into that. So application requirements, we have a web form that you need to submit through. If you do need accessibility support, you can email me, Susan@macarts.ca. There's also another email in the microgrant guidelines, which also comes directly to me, and we can talk about how to get your application submitted through the form properly. There's a link here, but you can also find it in the guidelines. You can also find it on our website, mississaugaartscouncil.com/microgrants, and you'll be able to get to the application form there as well. So I have a fancy little hot tip for everyone. Make sure that you have all your application materials prepared before you go to the web form. They're listed in the guidelines exactly the way they are on the web form. And we also recommend write your answers in a separate Word document. And then once you're ready to submit your microgrant application, you can just copy and paste your answers into the web form. So this is good for a few reasons. One, sometimes the web form crashes, and I don't guarantee that you'll be able to save your work and come back to it. So just keep it offline. It also means that you have a really good spell checker through your Word document, so you can make sure there's no typos. And it also means that you have a copy of the text for the next application you want to do. If you are applying to both the city and MAC, we have 2 different web forms you need to fill out, or application spots you have to fill out. So do it in a Word document, and then you just copy paste for both. That is my hot tip. And I have definitely not followed my own advice before and been burned by application portals, deleting all of my information. So we learn from mistakes, and we still, and this is a really big one for you. Once you've completed the web form, so you've filled out your answers in the Word document, you've pasted them into our web form, before submitting your application, I believe there's an option to review your answers, and you can print a copy of the application for yourself. Absolutely take advantage of this. Never hurts to have too many files saved. Also keep in mind, you can only submit 1 application to our fall microgrants. And so it's a chance to just double check everything and have a copy of what you submitted. All right, application requirements. So our web form has been simplified a little bit, and we only have 2 sections that you need to fill out. So the first section is applicant information. So we need your name. If you're applying on behalf of an organization, then you can add your organization name, or if your stage name is different than your personal name, you can include that. If you're just applying for yourself, you can leave that blank, no problem. We also need your email, phone number, address, standard contact information. Then we ask for a website link. That could be your personal website. It could be a website to a project. Often filmmakers, when they start working on a film, they'll have an independent website just for that film. So that might be what they would want to include here. Then if you have a Marty's Hub profile, you can include the link. If you don't, you could look into Marty's Hub. We talked about it earlier. But if you don't have a link, that's fine. That one's optional. Then we ask for an artist CV or resume. You can upload this in PDF or Word format, and make sure with the CV or resume added, we sort of talked about if there's two people working on the project and they're both equal partners, maybe just combine the two CVs into one document and show both, or include one, and you can always include the other one as an additional upload if you want, or maybe just the principal applicant. Whatever demonstrates that the people working on the project are capable of undertaking the project. And then we ask for 3 work samples. And the way it's set up is to upload one PDF or Word document. So this means if you have videos, it'll have to be links to the video on a document. Or if you're sharing works through Google Drive or Dropbox or something similar, make sure you'd include the link on a Word document and upload that, rather than sharing the pictures or the items themselves. And again, if you're using Dropbox or Google Drive, make sure that the sharing permissions are set so that anyone can see them. If we can't see your additional work samples, then unfortunately the jury is going to have to pass on your application, no matter how great it is. So make sure that if you have a password protected video, make sure we have the password, or if you have a private drive, make sure that we can see them. Also, so with your document, you're going to include the links or pictures or whatever it might be, and make sure to include a description and say, here's a link to this music video of mine, and this is why I chose it to represent my work, or this is why I chose it to show my ability to complete this project. And it doesn't have to be long, these descriptions, just a sentence or two of why you picked that work and why you want the jury to view that work. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you run into trouble or you have questions, again, feel free to email me, and we can sort that out and figure out what the trouble is and how to get those links in. All right. Section 2, so that was the first section, which is all about you, the applicant. Section 2 of the microgrant application is all about your project. So there's a drop-down list. Pick which funding stream you're applying to out of those 8. Then you'll enter the amount of funding requested. So for lots of those grants, it states, career development up to 1,500, or community activation microgrant up to 6,000. And you can, if that's how much you're asking for, great. For Matchmaker, again, it's 50% of your budget, or 3,000, whichever is less. So enter the amount that you're requesting based on your budget. And then there's a checkbox where you can tick off which artistic practices are represented by your project. So we had one person on the call who's writing a book. They'll check off literary. If you're doing the fusion one, you're going to have at least 2 checkboxes. And if you're a musician working with a dancer, working with a filmmaker, maybe you have 3 checkboxes, and that's great. It's really just us seeing what artistic practices are in your project. And then we also want the number of artists involved in your project. And don't worry if it's a career development project or another project and it's just you or a couple of people, that's absolutely fine. We're not looking for 100 artists per project. We just want to see how many artists that you're working with and will be getting paid. Next up, we're looking for a project title and then a 50-word project description, which is 2-3 sentences. We also have a little calendar widget for the start date of your project and the end date of your project. And again, these are just proposed. The dates can change. Life happens. We understand. But it's just to kind of put some context to your project. Next up is a project proposal. So this is a 1 or 2-page document in PDF format that tells us what your project is, who's involved in your project. For the ArtsCare microgrant, it'll include your outcomes and how you're going to measure them, and really give us a sense of what are you going to do in in more than 50 words. The next upload is a PDF or Excel spreadsheet, and it's your budget. We don't have a standard template. Whatever makes the most sense to you. Make sure to include revenues and expenses, especially if it's a Matchmaker grant. Show the money coming in and what's going out, and be as thorough as you can and as realistic as you can. Then we have one more question, and that is a long typing question, and you will tell us about the impact and outcomes of your project. So what effect is your project going to have on audiences, on the people involved, and what's the sort of the legacy of your project once it's over? What are those outcomes going to be, and why is it important? And then we have two optional. There's a text box if you have additional comments you want to tell us about that you think will add to your project. Great. If not, totally fine. And then also optional, you can add supporting documents if you need. Maybe it's a report, maybe it's that extra CV or an extra work sample or something that you think adds value to your application. So hopefully that makes sense. Oh, Susan's hot tip, impact and outcomes. They're an important part of your application. So take a bit of time and really think them through. Okay, I know that was a lot. So we are going to visit the web form because I think that'll put a lot of what I just talked at into perspective. This is what the MicroGrant form looks like. I'm just going to click this button, which will fill it for me so we can go through. So it has more information about our funding streams, a bit about eligibility. I'll click next. So section 1 is this page here, the applicant information. So we have name, organization if you want, email, phone number, address, the website for your project. Marty subprofile link is optional. Upload a CV. You can click here to do that. And it's going to require that. That's too bad. And then upload your work samples. I think I need to upload something, so I will upload. Oh, and it's giving me an error because it wants a PDF. Okay, let's find a PDF. Go. Wants another PDF. So add Mac logo guidelines. It seems happy. So artist resume, work samples. Next. Didn't let me have two things there. Okay, and then, so that was section 1. Now section 2 is talking about the project itself. So the first one, which microgrant are you applying for? So let's do community activation. How much money am I requesting? $1 million. I don't know how many zeros. Okay. We can click multiple. And if our drop-down list here doesn't cover it, you can also do this and say, and add in which art form, how many artists are involved, project title, brief project description, start date, end date. And then we do our project proposal. Detailed project budget. The impact or benefit your project will have on the artists, and how will you measure the outcomes? So that was that impact outcome from the that I was talking about. And this is an important question that the jury will look at to see judge the value of your project. Then we have additional comments. This is optional. You don't need to include additional comments if you've covered everything. And additional support documents, again, optional. You don't have to include it if you don't want to. Go to next. This is our chance to review and submit. It'll ask for a little signature. We can do whatever looks good. We can review our answers. And here we can see all the answers that we've put in, make sure everything's correct. Oh, that might not be $1 million. Maybe we'll have to go back and edit that number. So you can go back to the form to edit. You can print a copy for your records, and then you can click submit. Hopefully that cleared up a lot of text points. Do we have questions about the form, or do you want me to go back to a different page and have another look at it? Okay. I will go with no. I'll go back to my presentation here. Okay, so we reviewed the web form. We talked about what the funding streams are, what you need to apply. We went through the application. And now we're going to look at assessment. So each of the applications, on the 16th, we collect all the applications and they will go to an independent jury. These are professionals in the city, professional artists, or industry professionals. And to ensure consistency and fairness, each peer assessment jury uses the same scoring criteria for all the applications, and the decision of the jury is final and confidential. The peer assessment committee will evaluate applications based on the following. So the impact and innovation of your proposed project, the qualifications and experience of the applicant to undertake the proposed project, the artist development inherent in your project. Is it, does your project show artist growth, or does it provide growth for the artists involved? The connection to the community, whether you have a schedule and work plan that is attainable, and whether you have a realistic budget. And the project schedule and work plan, sort of what are you going to do? What are some milestones? Should really be a part of your project proposal. There you go. I don't have a hot tip button for that, but that's my hot tip. Oh, my hot tip is have a peek at the assessment criteria. It's near the end of the guidelines, and just see what the jury will be looking for, and review your application when you're ready to submit it. Just have a quick read through after reviewing the assessment criteria and kind of ask yourself, have I covered these points? Does it speak to what the jury is going to be looking for? That's my hot tip there. Okay, so we talked about the funding streams, we talked about eligibility, we talked about the forms, we talked about what you need to apply, we talked about what the jury is going to look for. What are the next steps? So first off, everything we discussed today is in the MicroGrant guidelines. It's a document that looks like this. It's available in digital format on our website. There's a link here you can go to, or if you go to mississaugaartscouncil.com, go to MicroGrants, and on that page, you'll be able to download the guidelines. There's a few buttons for that. Once you've read the guidelines, you've collected your information, you're all ready, then apply through the web form. Again, here's the link here, but you can find it both in the guidelines and on our MicroGrant page. There should be a button that says apply for a MicroGrant. Those are easy ways to get to it. And then once you do that, lucky you are done. Sit back and wait. So when is the deadline? I think we've alluded to it, but I didn't explicitly say it. Deadline for all applications, Monday, October 16th, 2023 by 5:00 p.m. The web form is set to close at that time. So don't leave it to the last minute. Get it done on the weekend so you can enjoy your Monday. And if there's any problems over the weekend, you have a little bit of time on Monday to get your application in. We will not, no late submissions will be accepted. And we encourage you to apply early, even if it's just the weekend before, just to make sure that there's no technical issues when you're trying to apply. And again, you must submit through the web form, and there's the link here. Okay, so again, our important dates and deadlines for fall MicroGrants. They're already open. We got through the information session. This is being recorded, and we'll do an edit to get it down to an hour, and it'll be available on our YouTube page within a couple of days. We just have to do a quick edit on it. So it will be available hopefully by the weekend. MicroGrants close on October the 16th. Winners will be notified in early November with a public announcement at the end of November for projects that start anytime and are completed by the end of November in 2024. And that is all I have. Thank you for bearing with me. I know this is a lot of information. If you have questions about additional questions about the microgrants, I know we went over the funding streams very quickly and not in a lot of depth. Feel free to email me. I'm Susan@macarts.ca. You can also, there's an address in the frequently asked questions on the last page of the guidelines that you are absolutely welcome to email as well. That will also come directly to me. And I'm happy to discuss offline eligibility requirements or, aligning the right funding stream for your project. We can't review your materials and we can't give you advice, but we can absolutely make sure that you're applying for the right funding stream and that you're confident in your application.